UPod Street is an official affiliate of Birdland Sports. Visit birdlandsports.com/UPodStreet, and 10% of your order will go directly to supporting the pod. Use code UPodStreet at checkout, and you'll get 10% taken off your order. Now sit back, relax, and keep that beer cold, because it's on to UPod Street. What is up? Welcome everybody to UPod Street. I'm some guy who got to shake Jim Palmer's hand on Friday, Jimmy Horn, and joining me, as always, is the brunette Thor himself, Jack Bain. Jack,
okay, I know you're gonna say that every time, but it still catches me off guard every time.
it's who you are. It's your official podcast DJ host name now. I've dubbed it. You don't get to decide it for yourself. Sorry, you have no say. I will always and forever say it now.
You know, there's a lot of worse things to be called in this world, so I'll take it.
Yeah, I could call you like big, smelly, gross guy Jack Bain or something like that. Well, that wouldn't be fun.
Yeah, that wouldn't be enjoyable at all.
Jack, we're gonna have a really boring episode today. There is no Orioles news to talk about whatsoever. Nothing big has happened. No revelations, no possibly season altering changes happening. This is going to be a really boring episode.
Yeah, of course. I mean, you know, what better timing than 2 hours before the show for no news to come out, right?
Yeah. You know, I'm gonna say this. Normally the Orioles kind of screw us over because when they make big news, they don't announce it until Monday. And so we will have just recorded and then some big news will come out and we'll be like, oh crap. Today they did us a favor and announced a big move right before we came on air. So we're going to get that in a second. Everyone probably already knows what we're talking about. First, though, we gotta recap this week real quick. Starting off with that series in Tampa. Jack, if you want to take it away.
Yeah, so I would like to apologize in advance to anybody listening live or listening later. I have had some internet struggles within the last 30 minutes. And it's been a real grind to just get live here. So that being said, apologies in advance. But the Orioles did go down to Tampa and handed the Rays their 5th home loss of the season. I think it's 5. I think that's what they were saying. They do not lose 7 at home, but the Orioles were 7. It's somewhere around there. But the Orioles were able to go down to St. Pete and really kind of slug their way to a 8-6 victory over the Tampa Bay Rays. This was no easy win, man. I mean, you got one of Tampa's best pitchers, of the past. Not really the past, but in recent years, Tyler Glasnow has been one of the Rays' best pitchers. And, it sucks like when guys get hurt because they're so they come back so much less dominant than they were. And that's kind of been the story for Glasnow this year. And that kind of showed here against the Orioles. Santander and Aaron Hicks both hit a home run in this game, which was really good to see. Glasnow would go on to scatter 6 earned across 4 1/3. Did strike out 7, but he was just kind of missing over the plate. And, glad to see that this was the start of Santander's really hot week. And Aaron Hicks continued to be pretty dominant since coming to the Orioles. Bautista picked up his 20th save in this game, again, continuing his streak of dominance. And even Kyle Bradish looked pretty good for the first half of his outing. His final line was 5 innings, scattering 2 earned, struck out 8, which is big numbers over 5 innings. Pitch count got a little bit higher there towards the end of his outing. And then the bullpen didn't look great again in the middle guys. Brian Baker only got through a third of an inning, allowing 3 runs. Mike Baumann again didn't look as sharp as he usually does. He let up 1 earned, and I think he actually let up a couple of Brian Baker's inherited runners, which kind of inflated Baker's earned run total there.
Yeah, I mean, this was a story of the Orioles going after a good pitcher. I think even though Glasnow hadn't been in the league long from coming back from that injury, they were saying on the broadcast that he hadn't let up more than 2 runs all season. So
Yeah.
him and get him to give up 6 was absolutely huge. Like you said, Aaron Hicks. I'm still going out to Monuments Park and trying to figure out how big is this statue going to be. Someone
Right.
recommended putting it next to the Babe statue. I think that's not a bad idea. But the middle relief again reared its ugly head and really made you go, we could use some bullpen guys because they made that game a lot closer than it
Right.
needed to be. Like you said, Felix was dominant, but this is one when you were at one point up, what was it, like 8-1 or something like that? You kind of
They were up 7-0 at one point.
7-0 at one point, and then you end up having to bring Felix in. You were a little nervous about that, but you know what? Like you mentioned before, anytime this year you can go into the Trop and get a win is kind of a big deal.
Yeah. And that being said, leading into the next game, I feel like, just taking one out of these two was kind of a win in itself, right? I mean, best team in baseball. It's only a 2-game set at their place. Let's go for a split. They won game 1, and I'm not saying they became complacent because Taj Bradley looked on in this start. I mean, he was on in the start before, and he just kind of rode that high into the next game. He was really, really dominant. 1 run over 6 innings, struck out 8, and even those strikeout numbers, I mean, that's kind of average for him. He's been striking out 8 to 10 guys in most of his outings. He's been up and down with the Rays and Triple A Durham, and then again with the Rays. He's really, I think he's found a home in that rotation, especially with Shane McClanahan going down with injury. Tough start for Tyler Wells, who's been really, really dominant over his past couple starts. I just think that he let his pitch count get a little too high, and obviously, a 4 spot in the second really isn't what you want. Granted, 2 of those runs were not earned. That second inning was not a defensive masterclass for the Orioles. Some trouble fielding some PFBs and then throwing the ball around. Wasn't great, but he did let up 2 home runs. Anytime you do that in the start, not the greatest. And then again with the bullpen, man, Keegan Aiken looked rough. Cole Irvin looked rough out of the bullpen.
Yeah, it was one of those games. So I think Tyler Wells who has been fantastic all season. His one major flaw is that he's prone to the long ball.
Yeah.
And this was a story where, like you said, you had some errors that led to a 3-run home run in that inning, and kind of got away from him there. I will give him kudos though, because it could have turned into what Friday night would turn into. But he, after the second inning, got it together, was able to complete 5 innings, which if you give up a 4 spot and you're still able to go 5 innings without giving up another run, good on him for being able to get that inning behind him and just move on. And I think that shows the maturity of Tyler Wells. I think it shows how good he actually is, because let's face it, even the best pitchers in baseball are going to have rough nights.
Yeah, no doubt.
And so this was a rough night for him. And I think it shows that, come his next outing, he's not going to let it affect him. I thought it was interesting, Jack, that they did go to Cole Irvin in the bullpen because he was scheduled to make that next start on Friday. Kind could be some signs of the future, perhaps, that we've kind of talked about on the show about what are they going to do in this rotation. I don't know. He didn't do well out of the bullpen, but maybe he's just not used to being a bullpen guy. So I don't know. I thought it was interesting. Like you said, though, taking just one of these two games was absolutely huge because you kept your lead in the head-to-head.
Yeah,
Orioles now lead that 3-2. It's going to be a battle between these two teams the whole rest of the season. And I think the Orioles have a chance to catch the Rays. I mean, there's a lot of season left. And if they do catch the Rays, one of the biggest things that's going to come down to it could be the head-to-head matchup. And you just need to be one ahead in that head-to-head matchup. So, like you said, not that they got complacent in that second game, but you did go into that second game knowing no matter what, the Orioles were still going to have the lead in the head-to-head. So splitting that series, I'm totally okay with it, especially with how dominant the Rays have been at home all season.
Yeah, no doubt. And not much to say on Siri. Take it easy over there.
Oh my God, Jeez. Siri has a lot to say about the Orioles right now. That's the curse of I talk with my hands, and so when I wave my hands a lot, my Apple Watch starts to pick up what I'm talking about. See, you're having internet issues.
Yeah,
Apple Siri is trying to take over the show right now. Oh no.
No, but Gunnar Henderson ended up running that game. That was one of the Orioles' 4 hits, and there's not really much to say about that. Off day Thursday, traveled on home just in time to meet the Seattle Mariners, who came into Oriole Park on Friday night. And
let me tell you, Jack. Let me tell you, I was there for this.
Yeah.
I got good seats for this. I was sitting front row next to the foul pole for this. And I was so excited.
Yeah, Mariners scored 13 runs.
This was bad. This is the worst we've seen Kyle Gibson since he's been an Oriole. I mean, he gave up, 7 runs?
I mean, so his final line was 5 runs over 3 innings. Okay. And, I mean, his pitch count was at 86 pitches by the end of the third. That is certified not good.
Ugly. I knew that at that moment the Orioles had given up because they brought in from their bullpen, they brought in Gillespie, who would pitch 2 innings and give up a run. Followed by Perez had a nice outing. Perez went 2 innings, no runs. One of the rare outings. But then Keegan Aiken. Can we talk about this for a second, Jack? Can we talk about this for a second?
Yeah. 2/3 of an inning. 6 hits, 7 runs. 6 of them were earned.
That's just bad.
He walked one guy. It wasn't like he was walking the house and like they would just come around to score. I mean, he was getting touched.
This again, I'm not going to go on a rant like I did last week, but it's things like this that has me going, where the heck is Nick Vespi? Okay. And I'll leave it at that. I'm going to leave it at that.
Yeah. I mean, we're going to talk about it again later, but like there's going to be some corresponding moves to this move about Jordan Westburg. And I mean, what's he bringing, I mean, yeah, the Orioles were pretty much down and out from the jump in this game.
Yeah, I mean, nothing, the offense certainly didn't make it seem like the Orioles were ever in this. They had 3 hits.
No, and I will say Logan Gilbert for the Mariners, he has high ERA, but he's been pretty good for the Mariners this year. He's a good young arm. I just think that, like, you're home on a Friday night wearing your new City Connect jerseys. Like, I mean, how was the crowd?
The crowd was large.
It was rainy though.
We had an hour and 45 minute rain delay.
Yeah.
which made it a little less energetic. I wonder too. I feel like Kyle Gibson is kind of probably like an old school guy who like he has his routine, right?
Yeah.
He wakes up the morning of a start at the same time every time he has a start. He has the same breakfast. He has the same workout session. He's probably a guy that has a routine that is regimented like to the minute. And you get an hour and 45-minute rain delay, and that whole schedule is completely thrown off.
No,
That's a complete theory, but
I definitely get like rain delays, like totally screwing up one, vibage. Two, you're playing a whole hour and 45 minutes later than when you like prepared for. And I mean, yeah, I get it. It sucks. It throws everything off, but professionals, you're getting paid to play the game at a high level. Like, work through it. If that was the case, right? Um, I don't know.
it's one of those two. We also hit the Mariners when they were getting hot, right?
Yeah, no
Like
doubt.
we've talked a lot on the show about the Mariners underperforming all year because they have, but
Yes.
they were coming off a series where they just got hot against the Yankees. So they did us a favor, and then they came in and then they beat the crap out of us Friday
Yeah.
night. I'll say this: it was bad enough, and part of it's the delay, so it was going late, right? I'm never a guy that leaves an Orioles game early ever because my
Yeah.
feeling is I paid for this, like I want to be here. This is my team. I'm going to support them, win or lose. This was bad enough that come the 8th inning, I left.
Yeah.
Again, part of it was a late night at that point, but as I was leaving, they got up to 10 runs, and by the time I got out of the stadium, it got up to 13 runs.
Yeah. And you had to work the next day, man. I'm going to give you a break.
I didn't work the next day. I did have a family reunion the next day that I had to
Ah.
get up super early to drive to. So
Same thing.
that's the same thing.
But
Still had to wake up early.
But the Orioles did not let that showing on Friday night affect them all that much. They came back the next day scoring in the second and third innings, and then again in the fifth. So they had a three, or actually no, excuse me. They were up one after the sixth inning. Bats woke up and they completely washed the game before. Dean Kramer looked pretty sharp, getting through seven, only scattering 3 runs. Yanier Cano follows him with Coulomb. We're in the ninth inning.
Who should come
Felix
on but the
comes in.
Mountain?
Yeah, who else would come on? It's fine. Felix Bautista is going to come in, strikes out one of the first 2 guys coming up. We got 2 outs. And
He
then
got down to the last strike. He got down
Mike
to the last
Ford.
strike.
Mike Ford on 2 strikes. His second home run of the day takes Felix Bautista deep to tie the ball game in the ninth. Mike Ford.
Yeah, I have one question. I have one question for you, Jack. Who the heck is Mike Ford?
Oh no. I genuinely do not know. I think I'm not mistaken. He played for the Yankees before the Mariners.
Sure, I
Let me
guess.
look this up. He's a first-round pick.
Really?
Wouldn't you
So
believe
someone's
it?
heard of him.
Yeah, he was on the Yankees. From 2019 to 2021, he was on the Yankees. Didn't do very well. 2022, he bounced around 4 different teams. 2023 finds a home in Seattle. And he's got 6 home runs this year, batting 174.
There you go.
So that was his shining moment of the year. Came at a good time. And but get that runner on second to start extra innings.
That ghost runner, man.
Mike Baumann absolutely shoved in the 10th, top of the 10th.
He's come in. I think that's at least the second time he's come in extra innings this year and shut down the side.
Yeah.
Because I think he did that in Toronto too.
Now that Brandon Hyde can't put in Austin Voth.
I know, right? And then who would come up but the most likely of heroes in the bottom of the 10th, Jack?
I went to Power Plant down near the harbor, and I'm standing there. It's before the concert, And me and a bunch of other people are watching the game on the big screen, and we're all like, "Oh, Ryan McKenna's up. What are we doing here?" And he belts this thing. I'm like, "Oh, this is it. He did it. He did it." And it just kept going. That ball I felt like it carried and carried and carried, and then it was gone, and the whole bar erupted.
There you go.
It
That's a
was
great
awesome.
feeling.
It was awesome.
And
But
that they had a great crowd there for that one too. I think it was
yeah,
32,000 was the announced attendance for that. Part of that was
yeah.
they had the Purple Pride jersey giveaway for the Raven Orioles crossover.
Mm-hmm.
Shout out to my buddy Eddie, who I got him tickets for it so that he could go there and get a jersey for my dad, who's a big Ravens fan and really wanted this jersey. But like I said, we had a family reunion. So the package had been secured. Thank you for that, Eddie.
Thanks,
Um,
Eddie.
but yeah, what a great moment. Probably the shining moment of Ryan McKenna's career. Could possibly be. We'll talk about this a little later in the show. Could it possibly be the last shining Ryan McKenna moment? We'll talk about that in a bit. Then we get to today, Jack. You come off a high emotional win. Like we said, you come back from a 13-1 loss. You win in extras after giving up the tying run in the bottom of the ninth with 2 outs. And you come in today kind of needing a win. I mean, you want to, if you're gonna win this tough game last night, you're like, okay, we need to win the rubber match now.
Yeah.
Especially with the Big Red Machine coming to town this week. You're like, we got to win this series. Pretty low scoring ball game. Orioles were down 2-0 at one point. Did have early on a wonderful home run robbery by one Anthony Santander.
Yeah,
And then
robbery to make MLB's Instagram page.
yeah. And then he followed that up with a 2-run home run to tie the game. And then everyone's most expected heroes would knock in what would be the winning run as Anthony Bamboom would hit a little pop fly over the first base that would land. And who was on base? Who was on first base other than one Jorge Mateo, who made it first all the way to home in what would be the winning run. Felix Bautista came in. Jack, he was hitting 103 today.
He was pissed. He was pissed he blew that save.
Oh, he was pissed. He was pitching with anger. He threw a slider today.
Yeah.
Everybody forgets he has a third pitch. He has a slider, and he threw a slider today. And I think that was purely he was just angry about messing up that save yesterday. And yeah, Orioles go on to win, take the series. We're at 47 wins right now, Jack. Do you know the total number of wins that the Orioles had all of 2018?
I'm going to say 47.
It was 47.
Yeah.
Here we are, not even July yet, and the Orioles are at 47 wins. We have come a long way in 5 years, my friend.
Yeah, no doubt. And one more note on that last game today. Kyle Bradish. It's gonna be Kyle Bradish. Dude, he got an absolute gut punch there in the second inning on a moonshot from Cal Raleigh that just kept inside the foul pole. And dude, he didn't let that affect him, man. Those are the only 2 runs he gave up, and then he was able to get through 7, officially a quality start. Went deep into this game. Danny Coulomb gave way, looked sharp, and then like we were talking about Felix. I mean, that's just the way you do it. That's a well played baseball game by the Orioles today. Offense wasn't crazy, but Santander, that big home run, and then of course Anthony Bemboom just bleeding one right in right center or right field. Actually, it was a single. They changed the scoring. It was a single and then an error. Okay. Yeah, the second baseman kind of booted it, allowing Mateo to come all the way around.
I really like what you just talked about with the pitching. One of the biggest things that people get on Brandon Hyde about is his bullpen management.
Mm.
And it's kind of a damned if you do, damned if you don't situation with him, where sometimes he lets guys pitch like one pitch too many and then they let up a home run or whatever. And
yeah,
sometimes he pulls guys what seems like too early, but it's like, well, what if he had left them in too long? He let Kyle Bradish go 7 innings.
Mhm.
And Bradish had, I think, 1 or 2 guys on base when he was in the 7th inning with 2 outs, and he was already over 100 pitches. And Hyde let him stay in there for that final out, and Bradish got it. And I think that was a big maturity moment for Bradish. I
Yeah.
think it was a big confidence moment for Bradish, where Hyde's saying like, "Hey, I trust you to get this last out."
Yeah, no doubt.
And it was a great bullpen management moment from Hyde of recognizing, the past couple weeks when you finish the weekend series, they've had Monday off. They don't have Monday off this week. So recognizing like, hey, let's save the bullpen one more out, right?
Right.
So really good to see that from Hyde and the management of the team right there.
Yeah, no doubt.
Jack, I'm getting an alert. I think this is what Siri was trying to tell me. Apparently some guy is gonna make an Orioles debut tomorrow named Jordan Eastberg. Is that correct? Is that the correct name?
You're a
No.
cornball.
Oh, Jordan Westburg. Have you heard of this Jordan Westburg guy?
Yeah. Yeah. So he is a consensus top 100 prospect in the league. He's in the 50s and the 70s, depends on what publication you look at.
So I looked at it right
Regardless,
before we got on. MLB.com has him as the 3rd best Orioles prospect and the 46th overall prospect.
yes. So he's anywhere from higher 40s to high 70s. Regardless of where he's placed on prospect rankings, dude is a certified ball player. The dude is a certified ball player. This year in Norfolk, if you didn't read it already, he's batting 295, 372, 567 for an OPS of 939. He rakes. He's got 18 homers on the year, 54 driven in, 15 doubles. I mean, it was only a matter of time. It was only a matter of time. I will say the club has not confirmed this roster move yet. This was tweeted out by Jeff Passan, as well as multiple other Orioles beat writers now. They are all crediting Jeff Passan for being first. I mean,
So
it's crazy.
Westberg wasn't in the lineup today for Norfolk, who by the way had a benches clearing brawl today.
Huh, really?
Yeah, I saw that. I saw that on Twitter right before we
No
came
way.
on. Yeah, they had a bench. How often do you have brawls in the minor leagues? But Westberg was not in the lineup today, nor was Mountcastle or Cowser. And so there was a lot of theories going on of what does this mean? Are these, Norfolk's not gonna play again until Wednesday. And so there's just a lot of theories going on, and I didn't read into any of them. I was like,
Yeah.
no, he's not coming up before the trade deadline. Or Cowser, Mountcastle maybe, though he's not doing well in his rehab assignment right now, which we might be able to talk about in a little bit. But I was pleasantly surprised that they made this move, and we'll talk about in a little bit what we think the corresponding moves will be. I mean, this is it's weird, Jack, because we have been spoiled in the last year or so, where we've gotten an Adley Rutschman call up, number 1
Yep.
prospect in all of baseball. We got a Gunnar Henderson call up, number 1 prospect in all of baseball. Grayson Rodriguez call up, who was
Top
a top
five.
top 5 prospect and was the top 1 or 2 pitching prospect in all of baseball. This is the first big call up we've had where the guy's not in the top 5 in the past year. Like we've had some like we had the Stowers call up and things like that.
And
But
Ortiz.
this is interesting because this is like like I said, MLB has him as 46 overall. Um, what should we as fans realistically expect from Jordan Westburg moving forward?
Yeah, so Jordan Westburg is a slugger. That is one way to put it. The guy has home run potential power, extra base hit. I mean, his slugs at 567. I will say he's got a fairly high K rate, up over 20%. So you see the K rate, you saw Stowers' K rate in the minor league. So expect some growing pains in the first couple weeks. The strikeouts might be there at the start, or he might come out firing and hit a bunch of home runs, hit a bunch of extra base hits right off the bat, and then he'll cool back down in a month or so once there's more of a scouting report on him. So I think that he's either going to adjust really well, expect there to be strikeouts in addition to his high velocity power, right? But you're not just getting a guy who is a 3-pitch outcome. He's going to work some counts. Walk rate's not very high, but he's still walking a decent amount. He had 29 walks this year down in Norfolk. But he gets on base. He hits for average, obviously. If you're hitting for average, you're getting on base. And then outside of the bat, man, he's a very versatile fielder. I feel like this is something that kind of fell between the cracks in his game, is that one, he plays all over the diamond. You can stick him in a corner outfield spot if you need to. He played a handful of games down in Norfolk in the corner outfield, 5 in right and 1 in left. So again, small sample size. He did okay. He had 1 error in those 6 games, but small sample size. But he plays second, third, and short. And I'm sure you could stick him at first if you needed him to. He's had a really, really good year out in the field. He's made 3 errors in the infield out of, over 60 games played, which that's great. So, I mean, we think about the corresponding moves that could be made and how we have really high ability fielders in our middle infield right now. That's not going to change because Westburg is being stuck into one of those middle infield spots.
Yeah, I think obviously the big thing that jumps out right now is the power.
Yeah.
He might still be, I know a couple weeks ago he was, I don't know if he still is now, but he was leading the minor leagues in home runs across all levels of the minor leagues at one point. I think that's kind of the jump start that this team needs. It seems like power is only coming from 1 or 2 guys at a time, and then everybody else is slumping. So if you can get someone in there to supercharge that, if you can get another power bat in there to charge this offense, that is great. I agree with your assessment. My expectation is probably right out the bat, he's going to come out hot. And that's kind of because he's hot right now. He's seeing the ball really well. And like you said, I don't think there's a lot of a scouting report on him right now.
Yeah, no doubt.
And part of that is because he's not a number 5, top 5 prospect. I feel like some of these guys, now granted, Ellie De La Cruz, I'm not counting you, okay, because you're just destroying the MLB right now.
He's insane.
But I feel like, when Adley came up, I feel like there had been so much press around Adley for 3 years that he was in the minor leagues, that when he came up, people kind of expected what to look for in Adley Rutschman.
Yeah.
And he struggled when he first came up. I mean, he didn't have an RBI in his first 20 games or something like that. This is the number 46 prospect. How many MLB scouts are out there being like, okay, so when you play the Orioles, they might have the number 46 prospect come up, and this is what he does, and this, that, the other. You're not getting that. So I think he's going to come out swinging. I think he's going to come out swinging for power. But I think you're right. I think give it a couple of weeks, teams will start to get a scouting report on him, and then he's probably going to cool off. I think the big hesitation that we've had is the K rate.
Yeah.
And the possibility he could strike out a lot.
So another interesting tidbit that I've found when we were prepping for tonight's show is that he's a big reverse splits guy. So he does much, much better against right-handed pitching, even though he's a right-handed bat. Against righties, he's batting .313, .382, .652. So he's slugging so much more against righties. He's got 17 of his 18 home runs are against right-handed pitching.
Now, do you think he's gonna is he gonna see a lot of right-handed pitching because Hyde likes to do those splits?
Yeah, so I mean, if Brandon Hyde's a manager that likes to look at splits, I feel like he would look at this right and not necessarily shelter him from left-handed pitching, but I feel like if there is really any kind of pitcher up, like you're never going to see Westburg get pinch hit for. Maybe if there's somebody who's better against lefties on the bench, take your chances with the guy on the bench against a left-handed bat rather than Westburg. But just in general, in the game of baseball, there's more guys who are right-handed as opposed to being left-handed. So I feel like this is going to be a really good kind of like it's going to work out for Westburg that he is a reverse splits guy.
Yeah, and I think the other thing that you brought up is going to be the glove.
Yeah.
The dude's a highlight machine out there in the field. He's versatile. He's just like Gunnar Henderson, except that he can also play second base. So anywhere on the left side of the field, he can play. I think the biggest question is remaining is a question that we have from the comments right here is what do we think the corresponding moves are going to be to make room for Westburg on the 40-man and ultimately the 26-man roster. Jack, we talked about it a little beforehand. A lot of people are saying Jose Godoy, who's on the 40-man, is likely the one to be DFA'd. I can tell you right now, I've never heard that name in my life until this moment.
Yeah, so for anybody wondering where this dude came from, a low stakes trade between the Orioles and the Yankees this month occurred, or was it either this month
Okay.
or last month occurred, and somehow we got this guy without like a lot of like news on it. So I mean, I
Yeah.
didn't know either until
I was
until we looked it up today.
now that you say that, I'm like, oh yeah, I do remember that happening.
Yeah.
But it's just like it
So
was something that was so small that it was just like I completely forgot that it happened.
yeah.
So either him or a lot of people are saying Lester. I'd say Godoy is probably um the most likely. I don't even know if I'm pronouncing his name right. I apologies if I'm not. Um as far as the 26-man, Jack, I'm thinking it's likely to be Joey Ortiz.
Yeah. Yeah, I think just it sucks because they haven't given him a whole like lot of a chance either.
Yeah, Hyde even said today that
There goes my internet.
he was asked about Ortiz and he was like, I think he's playing well and I haven't played him as much as maybe I should have. And then as soon as he says that, it's like, he might be going down now.
Yeah. Sorry, technical difficulties. But yeah, it does stink that Ortiz hasn't been getting much of a shot. Glad that Hyde recognized it. But
Do you have a
it's just kind
poltergeist
of
in
the
your
only.
room right now knocking stuff over?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what's going on. But yeah, it's just out of just like manpower. He's the next one to go down. If it
It
were
makes
by
sense.
gameplay, it does make sense. But if we were thinking about how dudes are performing right now, right, we need to boot a middle infielder to make room for Westburg. I, it's Jorge Mateo. I'm gonna put it bluntly. It's Jorge Mateo should be the first infielder to make room for Jordan Westburg. I know today his speed was like big in getting that third run. I get it. I hear you. But he's been putrid at the plate in the last 2 months. The only thing he's been offering for the Orioles in the last 2 months is his glove and his speed. If you look at his baseball savant page, all but 3 of his bubbles are a nice shade of blue. And that's his max exit velocity, which is 82nd percentile, and his sprint speed and his acceleration. Those are the only things that are positive about Jorge Mateo's underlying numbers.
I think I mean I agree. I agree as far as who's performing the worst on the team right now. Therefore, who should Westberg be replacing? It would be Jorge Mateo. I think that Jorge Mateo stays for one main reason, and that is you get in those close games towards the end of the game. You get a ghost runner, you get a guy on base who's not very fast. You throw Jorge Mateo in there to steal bases.
Yeah.
He starts to become the bench infielder guy, right? And you can put him out there knowing he'll be semi competent. But if you're getting a guy on second and you want to get him home because it's a 1-run game or something like that, Jorge Mateo can be the speedster that suddenly changes a game. And if you can take the bat out of Jorge Mateo's hand and just say, hey, I'm going to point to you in like the 8th or 9th inning when we need speed on the bases to completely change how this game is going, Jorge Mateo can be that guy. I think it sucks for Jory Ortiz because, like we said, he's not really gotten a fair shot. I think we're going to talk about in a little bit what trades might happen and things like that. I think that's what makes the most sense. A lot of people are hoping that it's McKenna and saying, oh, well, McKenna's probably going to be the guy that gets sent down. They're not sending McKenna down for Westburg. Sorry. They're going to keep him as the 4th outfield option. That's the way it is. Also, McKenna on Saturday probably bought himself another like 5 weeks of being on the team.
Dude,
so
yeah. I mean, it's just, and that's the thing that like we could use Westburg in an outfield spot if needed, but you do want a glove first guy as your 4th outfielder. Yeah, man, it's tough. It's certainly tough, but I feel like that move to take that, I can't remember his name, that catcher, Godoy. Yeah, thank you. The move to take him off the 40-man and replace him with Westburg is almost surefire going to be the move, right?
If it's not him, it's Lester.
Yeah.
This kind of leads us into another question that we got here, and is important for looking forward. Our buddy Brady Bain, his weekly question: how does Westberg's promotion affect the Orioles' decisions at the trade deadline? Is this to improve trade stocks? Is Cowser now the main piece looking to be shipped to another team? So let's kind of break this down a little bit, Jack. What do you think the overall effect of Westburg being called up is on how the Orioles look at the trade deadline?
I mean, so there's 2 ways to look at this, right? One is that the Orioles think that Westburg is the guy and Cowser is not, and they're going to give Westburg a shot on the major league club, and he's here for the long haul. Second way, this is almost like a tryout for Jordan Westburg's draft stock for other teams. If he excels in the first couple weeks that he's up, teams start calling. It's like, yeah, we have a proven, or more than likely a major league quality bat who has shown it over the past 3, 4, whatever weeks. This is why we should get the return on Jordan Westburg that we want.
Yeah, I think so. For me, I think this completely changes the way that I was looking at Jordan Westburg, because for me, I was saying Jordan Westburg is not up right now because they don't affect his trade stock. And I thought for sure we were never going to see him in an Oriole uniform ever. I think now I would put, as far as infielders, because there's got to be an infielder traded at some point.
Right.
I would say now the more likely trades would be something to include Joey Ortiz.
Yep.
I could see it being a package, maybe with some of these other guys that are kind of blocking the way for some of the other prospects. Maybe it's Ramon Arias and Joey Ortiz if a team really needs some help on the infield. I don't think Adam Frazier's going everywhere. A lot of people were talking about like, oh yeah, get Adam Frazier out there. Adam Frazier's like the highest paid guy on the team right now.
Second
Highest paid guy on the team right now. There's no way they're trading Adam Frazier. More than likely, Adam Frazier's going to finish out the year, and then the Orioles won't pick up his option for year 2.
Not that I'm against trading Adam Frazier, but I just don't think anybody's going to want to pick up his contract.
Yeah. You're not going to trade Jorge Mateo right now because the way he's played the past 2 months, who wants him? I'd say now sitting on the hot seat is Ramon Arias and Joey Ortiz as far as the infield. I don't think so. The second part of this question, is it to improve trade stocks? No, I think that this is Westburg joining the club. I think this is the Orioles saying this is the next part of bringing up the young guys. I'm going to pose a question to you, Jack, and I don't want you to throw things at me through your screen. I don't want people on Twitter watching to start calling me out and going like, what is this guy talking about? How would you feel about Anthony Santander now being a big trade piece? He is having a monster week. He is a good power guy. I think he's a good clubhouse guy. He has 1 year left on his contract.
Yep.
With Kauser and Kerstad, both in AAA right now, and we talked about it before. Kerstad has to be on the 40-man by the end of the year, otherwise he's Rule 5 eligible. You have to make room for them somehow. I think we have seen the peak of Santander's mountain, which is like a 33 home run year, 230 batting average. He's a good player. I'm not saying like I want to get rid of Anthony Santander because I like Santander a lot. I'm just saying we've seen his peak, and I think we have 2 guys in AAA Norfolk who are just about major league ready that probably have higher peaks. I think if you could make room for 2 outfielders who both have the potential to hit over 30 home runs in a season, wouldn't you want that? And I just think Anthony Santander being in a trade package, I think you get a lot back for Santander. That's my biggest thing. I think you can get a lot back for Santander.
Yeah. No, I'm 100% behind trading Santander. We're seeing his ceiling. This is all we'll get out of Santander. And remember, Anthony Santander was a Rule 5 pick. Rule 5 picks usually do not pan out in this way. I mean, this is like the best you can ask for out of a Rule 5 guy. So, that in mind, I know a lot of people would be mad or upset that Santander would get traded because he's been here for, the long haul. He's seen the lowest of the lows, and now he's up at the highest highs. So, it would sting off the bat, but I mean, we would get a good return, especially, if we packaged him up. Think about a package to the Cleveland Guardians who need major league ready bats. Package up Santander, Ortiz, and another top 30 guy. Maybe, throw in something else, another major league ready guy.
Here's some recommendations for you from Adit Mahmood. He's saying Ortiz, Norby, maybe Mayo. I
think those are all very tradable guys. I mean, think about, like I said, Santander, Ortiz, maybe throw in Norby, and I feel like that's more than enough to get a guy like Shane Bieber, right? Who has another year of control after this. You're getting a year and a half of Shane Bieber.
It could be also a middle relief guy. I haven't even looked at. I've been talking about the middle relief guys to trade for this team for a couple weeks now, and I've slacked because I haven't looked at what guys I would want to trade for. But that could be a package where you get not only a middle reliever, but a couple like minor league arms too.
Yeah, I mean, the Orioles need depth in the farm with arms. I mean, you have the short list of Grayson Rodriguez, Seth Johnson, Cade Povich, and then, just kind of top 30 guys that you can mix and match on who you want next. But yeah, I think that packaging Santander would be a great idea with a couple other prospects. Really, this is a big time sellers market this trade deadline, and there's not a lot of big ticket arms on the market right now outside of Shane Bieber. I feel like Bieber makes the most sense for the Orioles to pick up right now as a 1.5 control. Definitely a guy that I could see the Orioles extending in the future for sure. Really, the only other arms out there are like Eduardo Rodriguez, who has a player option next year, and a half a year rental of Eduardo Rodriguez is really not somebody that I see the Orioles taking on.
Well, and Mike Elias has said many times, he's like, I'm not going to make a move for the 2023 Orioles that is going to hurt the 2024 Orioles, right? So that's where, when you're talking about like, well, Shane Bieber has another year of control after this, that's why you want to go after him.
Yeah.
And to get him, you're going to need a big package to give the Guardians, and that's where I think Santander as the centerpiece of a trade with a couple guys like this, Ortiz, Norby, a couple of lower level guys that are still top 30 guys. I think that's worth a Shane Bieber.
Yeah. No
and I think, again, I love Santander. I just think, is he part of this team come 2025? And I don't see him being part of this team come 2025. If Jordan Westburg is as good as everyone's been saying, this is a guy that's up there with Adley and Gunnar, and being part of this team for the next 6 years of hopefully dominance in the American League, right? I don't think, kind of going back to what Brady was asking about, is Cowser looking to be shipped to another team? I don't think so. I think Cowser is a guy that's going to be up here soon, and he's going to be big when he is up here. And I think Kjerstad, I mean, think about, I was thinking about this the other day, Jack. Think about an outfield, and I don't know what's going to happen with Austin Hayes. He's having a great year. I don't want him to go anywhere right now, for sure. But think about an outfield where you have Cowser, Mullins, and Kjerstad.
Yeah, that's gross.
That's a killer outfield.
Yeah, that's gross. I mean, what is Hayes' contract looking like?
He and Mullins are up not next year, but the year after. So their last season is a season after Santander's last season.
Gotcha. So I mean, I don't think you're signing both of them. So
it's going to be one or the other.
Yeah.
And if you ask me which one I prefer Mullins.
Yeah, I'd have to agree. It's a lot of left-handed bats in that outfield.
That is true. True.
And then to follow up on the rest of Adit's question, I hope I'm pronouncing that right. I'm very sorry if I didn't. But I think Kobe Mayo definitely should be promoted to triple after this move, depending what the corresponding move is. Excuse me. Put it in perspective. Kobe Mayo has been lighting up the AA in Bowie. He's batting .313, .430, .608 for a 1038 OPS.
Didn't he have like a 25 game hit streak or something like that?
Something nuts.
He had something ridiculous.
Something nuts. In his last 30 games, he has 41 hits, 9 homers, 23 batted in, and he's walked 22 times to 32 strikeouts. Not too shabby.
That's pretty good. Yeah, so I think this is an exciting move. I think this is a move that will re-energize the fan base, who was about to have Mike Elias's head. Maybe that's all this is. Maybe Mike Elias is just like, oh, I gotta do something before these guys riot. I don't know. But I'm very excited for it. I think that's all the time we're going to spend on Westburg here, because we're getting towards the end of the show here. We just have a couple more things left on the docket. One thing I wanted to talk about, Jack, was an experience that I had Friday night before the 13-1 blowout. So I use my Birdland members rewards points to do an Orioles broadcast meet and greet. And I decided to try it this year. I didn't do it last year. Last year I did the mini mystery autograph sessions. So I was like, okay, I want to do this. The one disappointment I had was last year when I saw the videos of people doing it, they were like in the broadcast booth meeting the broadcast team. They didn't do that this year. They did. They pulled everyone into the members clubhouse, and then did the meet and greet there, where it was the panel of Jeff Arnold, Kevin Brown, Brett Hollander, and Jim Palmer, and then what's his name? Why can't I think of his name right now? Was emceeing. Rob Long. Rob Long was emceeing, and I got up as close as I could. I was basically 5 feet away from Jim Palmer, which is amazing. I breathe the same air as Jim Palmer. Just think about that. They did about 5 or 6 pre-planned questions, and then they did about 5 fan questions. No, I did not get picked for a fan question. Yes, I am a little salty about that. But it was neat. It was really neat to hear these guys talk about broadcasting as a profession, some of their favorite stories. Of course, there were a lot of questions about Jim Palmer and his playing days. I think the best story they told was Kevin Brown talked about one time they were doing a series in New York, and a bunch of them went out to eat for dinner, and this woman recognized Palmer and went up to him and said, hey, you're a great player. I loved watching you, all that stuff. And then she said, unfortunately, I'm a Yankees fan. And he responded with, well, I'm a big fan of the Yankees too. I beat them 35 times.
There you go.
And, Kevin Brown's telling that stories, and Jim Palmer interrupted him and said, I beat them 30 times.
Well,
and he had some other moments, typical Jim Palmer moments, where he's throwing stats out that he just knew off the top of his head. And Kevin Brown was sitting there with his phone out, like fact checking him in real time and going, he's right. So that was pretty cool. I would say the highlight, though, is, and I didn't expect them to do this, so I'm so glad they did, is that they pulled all those guys over to a backdrop, and then you got to take a picture with all of them. And I took the most of the moment. When I walked up, I shook all of their hands. I thanked them for being there, so I could say I shook Jim Palmer's hand as well as like Kevin Brown and all those guys. And I was wearing, Jack. I was wearing my UPod Street jersey with a UPod Street shirt, and they looked at it. They're like, "Oh, UPod Street, what's that?" And I was like, "Oh, it's my podcast." And they're like, "Oh, neat." So the word UPod Street came out of the Orioles broadcast team's mouths.
There you go.
Took a picture with me, which was great. Great memory to have. Also, Jack, I met some UPod Street fans at the event.
Awesome.
I had one guy, Benjamin, who came up to me. He was sitting behind me, and he got a great picture of my UPod Street jersey with Palmer and Hollander on either side of me, which was a great shot. Thank you for that, Benjamin. Also had a guy, I'm trying to remember his name. I want to say his name was Connor or something. Came up to me and just said, "Hey, you're Jimmy, right?" And I was like, "Yeah." And he goes, "Oh, I listened to your podcast." I asked him how he found out about us. He said someone sent it to him on Instagram.
Oh, nice.
So, shout out to you guys getting your word out. And shout out for coming and introducing yourself. Like Jack and I say, like we're out at the games all the time. Come up and say hi to us. Like, we want to meet you guys. We want to shake your hands. We want to talk with you. It's a fun time.
Yeah, no doubt.
So I would recommend, if you're looking for something to spend your Orioles member tickets on, your rewards points on, and that broadcast meet and greet is something you've been eyeing up, saying, "Oh, maybe I want to do that," I would recommend it. It was a fun time. I would give it a solid 8.5 out of 10.
There you go. Yeah, I'm looking for, as far as like points go, I'm looking at that catch on the field.
Oh, that'd be cool.
Brady, get you on
Would
moved.
you do it with your brother, or would you do it with
Oh
your
yeah,
dad? Brother?
my dad's shoulder doesn't work anymore. Sorry, Dad.
Oh, sorry, Scott. Um, we got a pretty big series starting tomorrow, Jack.
Yep, the big red machine comes to town. If you're looking for some young and exciting baseball, definitely come down to the yard on Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. All our 7:05 start times. Me personally, I'll be there Tuesday.
I'm
Wish
gonna
I'd
be
go to
there
all three,
tomorrow.
man. Dude, that's how I feel about this series. I wish I'd go to all three. I mean, the Reds are stacked with talent from the farm that just got called up. You got Ellie De La Cruz, Spencer Steer, Matt McLean, and they're playing really good baseball. They won 12 in a row up until yesterday, and
13
then
in
it
a row,
was
I think.
13, yeah. And then the Braves just ended it in the last couple days. So I mean, they're in first place now. So this is it's a two playoff contending teams now going at it.
I think the
So
good
yeah,
news for the Orioles is that 13 game winning streak is over.
yeah,
They've lost two in a row now, two in a row to the Braves, who are not a team that you can take lightly. They're a good team.
yeah,
Um, so hopefully that means the Reds are cooling off right as they come into
yeah,
Baltimore. Because I think that's what the Orioles need, is because the Reds were looking pretty unbeatable there for a little while.
yeah. But seriously, if you got the time and the means to do so, try and make it down for at least one of the games. Ellie De La Cruz is a can't miss talent right now. I yeah. If there was a couple games that you chose to go to during the week this year, this try to make it to one of these.
And
And then
tomorrow
this
you'll get
week,
to see a Jordan Westburg debut. I mean, what
yeah,
you can't beat that. You can't
yeah.
beat that. You're going to see
Hopefully,
a lot of really young talent on both teams. I mean, that's the thing, is
yeah,
the Reds are a really young team, but people forget the Orioles are one of the youngest teams in baseball. So
yeah,
you're going
no
to see
doubt.
two really young and exciting teams going at it. It's going to be awesome.
Yeah, honestly, like these next three games are going to be really good for baseball as a whole. Just seeing all these. I mean, if you think about it, there's like probably 8 prospects off the top 100 list in the last 2 years playing in this game.
Oh
So
yeah. And this is it, who would have thought, Jack? Who would have thought this time last year that we'd be saying that the series to watch in a week in June was going to be between the Orioles and the
yeah,
Reds?
right, right. I mean, even like this time a month ago, if you said the Reds were going to be a team to watch, like wouldn't believe you. But
No, not
here
at
we
all.
are. Here we are, and I'm stoked for it. I'm here for it, baby.
We've also got a major series to end the season, to end the month of June and go into July, to end the week on. The Orioles are going to be playing the Minnesota Twins, who are a division leader.
Stupid.
They are below
So
500.
stupid.
They're below 500, but they're a division leader. Don't sleep on them, though. Don't sleep on them, though. They are leading their division. But the bigger story here, Jack, is it's my personal favorite weekend of the year. Friday night, we have Floppy Hat Night, followed up with a 4 o'clock Hawaiian shirt game on Saturday. I'm wearing my Hawaiian shirt from last year as a celebration that the weekend's finally here. This is a weekend, Jack, that I pick out every year at the beginning of the year, and I put that on my vacation dates where I say I'm not working that weekend, because Floppy Hat Night and Hawaiian shirt are the two best giveaways every year. Those are
Yeah,
the
man.
best crowds every year. I think there's a lot of people that do the same thing. I think there's a lot of people that go to Floppy Hat and Hawaiian shirt night. They make a weekend out of it. It's going to be a fun time.
Yeah.
I'm stoked for it. I got barbecue planned Friday night. I got a brunch plan Saturday morning. I'm making it a staycation, going to all these Orioles games. And then, Jack, on top of all that,
Not to mention DJ Diesel in
DJ
the
Diesel,
house.
also known as Shaquille O'Neal, is going
I
to
mean,
be hosting a concert Friday night. How stoked are you, Jack, for the DJ Diesel concert?
dude, I didn't even know that Shaq was a DJ until like this was brought about, and I it's so funny. But
I
again, I'm here for it.
You know it's going to be gold.
Yeah, it's gonna be
You
good.
know it's gonna be gold. Everything Shaq touches is amazing. So this is gonna be an epic post-game concert. Like I'm so ready for it. I'm so freaking excited for
you're
it. And
gonna
if he
shell
doesn't
out.
come out wearing a floppy hat, I'm gonna be
Ooh,
disappointed.
he's gotta. Are you gonna shell out $35 to go on the field?
Is it only $35?
Yeah, it's only $35 to go on the field. For the
That's not
concert.
a bad deal. That's not a bad deal.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know that I'm gonna do it.
Yeah,
It might be late enough in the night that I might not be able to make it down to the field.
Oh, whoa. Please drink responsibly, Jim.
Yeah, always.
Here at UPod Street, we are all 21 years of age.
Yeah. Disclaimer: I'm 31 years old. Believe me, I'm plenty old to be drinking alcohol. Oh God, but I'm so excited for this weekend. I am so friggin' excited for this. Orioles are going to be playing good ball. I hope. They're great giveaways. I got lots of friends going. Jack, I got like 20 people I know that I'm sitting around going to this. It's going to be a party. It's going to be a party all weekend. It's going to be a fun time.
You have so many friends, Jimmy. I don't know how you do it.
It's because I wear my UPod Street jersey around and people just become my friends.
Yeah.
That's it. That's the secret.
That's it. All right. To wrap, over on BD Breaks, got a lot of cards up for sale right now. So if you're feeling like you want to purchase some baseball cards at a very inexpensive rate, you know where to go. After this, I'm going to be putting some more up. So if you're in the market for some Orioles cards, I'm going to be trying to do my best to throw some up there that, I don't want to keep for myself. Just came in yesterday. I caved into the Tops Now. Got a Gunnar Henderson Grand Slam card. It's really cool.
I think that card is a Grand Slam.
Jimmy, you're a Grand Slam.
Oh my goodness. Well, that's where we have to end it right there.
Any closing remarks, Jim?
I will see everyone at the DJ Diesel concert Friday night.
Have a great week, everybody. Go O's.
Go O's. You've been listening to UPod Street, an Orioles podcast by fans for fans. UPod Street is an official Birdland Sports affiliate. Directly support the pod by purchasing UPod Street or other Orioles merchandise using the link birdlandsports.com/UPod Street. Get 10% off your order when you use the code UPod Street. Follow us on Twitter at UPod Street and at JackBain20. UPod Street is also on Facebook and YouTube, and you can listen to the show on all major podcast platforms, including Apple Podcasts, Amazon Music, and Spotify. On whatever platform you listen, please subscribe, rate the pod, and leave a review. If you leave a review, we may even read it on the show. We'll see you next week, and of course, let's go O's.